Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and in this video we are going to discuss one interesting problem on backtracking. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll first try to understand what exactly is the problem statement. After that we'll jump onto its solution, right? Now the problem is you'll be given a number, let's say the number is n. Then what you need to do, you need to generate all the possible parentheses with this number, correct? Let's say the value of n is 2. Okay, so for number 2, we can have this parenthesis. This is the first one. Here we have two opening parentheses and two closing parentheses. Okay, so let's say if the value of n is 3, so in that case we must have three opening parentheses and three closing parentheses, correct? And this is the first possibility. We can have one more possibility like this. Here also we have two opening parentheses, this, and two closing parentheses, correct? So these are the two possibilities for n is equal to 2. Now let's say for n is equal to 3, this is the first possibility, correct? And we can have more possibilities like this. There is one more. So in all these cases you can see that the number of opening parentheses is 3 and also the number of closing parentheses is 3, correct? So this is the problem statement. Now let's try to understand its solution. Okay, so here I've created this function, and in this function you can see all these parameters. This is opening bracket whose initial value is 0. This is for closing bracket whose initial value is also 0. Here the number is n, right? Let's say here the initial value of n is 2. We'll see how we can generate parentheses for n is equal to 2. String is empty. The string is empty. And here I've created one vector to store all that string. So what we'll do, we'll first append those parentheses in form of string like this, and after that once it is completed we'll store that into this vector. Okay, so this vector is for that. Now let's see how this solution actually works. Now let's say the value of n is 2. Okay, the value of n is 2, and here you can see that initial value of opening bracket and closing bracket is 0. This value is 0, right? And here you can see that I've called this function again. So this is a recursive case here at line number 21. Okay, these two cases are recursive case. This is my base case. Okay, and let's name it as or let's number it. This is first recursive case, and here we have second recursive case. Since we are using recursion, then we must have to use call stack. Okay, so let's say this is my function called stack, and here what we'll do, we'll track the value of opening bracket and closing bracket. So let me write here opening bracket, and this is for closing bracket. The first one is for opening bracket and the second one is for closing bracket, correct? Now let's start this solution from here. So the value of n is 2, the value of these two values are 0, and vector is empty and string is also empty. Now you can see that this condition is not satisfied because closing bracket is not equal to n, right? Now here closing bracket is not smaller than opening bracket because these two values are 0, so we'll not run this condition. Now in this if condition you can see that the value of opening bracket is 0 and the value of n is 2, so this condition is satisfied. Now we just need to run these commands which is written inside this if condition. So what we'll do, we'll first append this opening parenthesis into the string. So let me write it here. Again we just need to call this recursive function. Here the value of opening parenthesis is 0 and we are adding 1 to it. Okay, means overall the value is 1 and the value of closing parenthesis is 0. So let me write opening parenthesis is 1 and closing is 0. Okay, this is the first recursive case. Again we are back to starting point of this function. This condition is not satisfied. This condition is satisfied because the value of opening parenthesis is 1 and the value of closing parenthesis is 0. So this condition is satisfied. Now we just need to append this bracket, which is a closing bracket, into the string. So just append this one, and we just need to call this stack function. And here I have written 2. Okay, 2 is denoting that this function is, we are calling the second function. So let me write it 2 here. So we are at this position. Okay, now here we just need to call this function. The value of opening parenthesis will remain same, that is 1, and the value of closing parenthesis will also be 1 because we are adding 1 to it. Okay, and this is for call stack 1. Now we are at starting point of this function. This condition is not satisfied. This condition is also not satisfied because both the values are 1. 1 is not smaller than 1. Now here in this condition, opening bracket is smaller than n, right? Because the value of n is 2 and the value of opening parenthesis is 1. So this condition is satisfied. Now we just need to add this bracket into the string, correct? Again, we just need to call this function. Opening bracket is 2 and closing bracket will remain 1. So this is 2, this is 1, and this is stack number 2, right? Again, we are back to starting point of this function, and this condition is not satisfied because closing bracket is not equal to n. The value of closing bracket is 1 and the value of n is 2. Now we are at this condition. Now this condition is satisfied because the value of closing bracket is 1 and the value of opening bracket is 2. So this condition is satisfied. We just need to append this closing parenthesis in the string. So append this, and we need to call this recursive function. So we are back to this point. Now you can see that this is okay. We just called this function. So here the opening was 2 and the closing will also be 2, right? Because it was previously 1. So this is 2, and here we just called function number 1. This is function number 1. Now we are back to this point, and here you can see that the value of closing bracket is 2, this is 2, and the value of n is also 2, means this condition is satisfied. Now in this condition I've written the pushback function, so we just need to push the string into this vector, okay? And we need to return to the original function called stack, so we'll return to here. So this is how this function called stack works, and using this we can generate parentheses according to the value of n, right? And let me show you the original code. So this is the code for it, and here I've created a main function and we are just calling this function inside this, right? Now let me run this. So let's say the value of n is 2 and this is for n is equal to 2. Now let's run for n is equal to 3. Okay, these are the parentheses for n is equal to 3. Let's do it for n is equal to 4, right? And this is the code for it. I'll upload the code on my GitHub. You can find the link in the description box. Okay, so that's it for this video. Thank you so much.